Hi friends, welcome back. My name is Barb. I am a cross stitcher, a long arm quilter, a wife, a mom, a grandma, a dog mom, a baker, a gardener, and hopefully friend to very, very many. And I am welcoming you here in my home in West Seneca, New York, just outside of Buffalo, to spend some time with me today. I suspect we're going to go at least an hour, maybe a little bit more. The last time we sat and chat was Monday, March 2nd, and that was the week that I was heading down to Disney with my son and daughter-in-law and 2 grandkids. So I have so much to tell you about. I do have quite a full table here. I have some projects that I've been working on, some haul, some fully finishes that I would like to share, and then just common chit-chat with you. I do hope that you enjoy sitting here with me. Now, I did watch a new Flosstuber last night, and I will tell you what her name is as we make our way through. And one of the things that I have really enjoyed is when I'm looking to catch up with my friends or looking for new videos to watch, I have a tendency to gravitate to those videos that are a good hour in length. And I was thinking about that last night, and I always feel like I need to rush through my video, that people don't want to listen to me yammer on for an hour, that maybe I don't have things that are interesting. I don't do the huge, beautiful samplers. Sometimes I get off track. And I really get a little embarrassed when I sit and I chit-chat, and as I'm talking to you, there's a little zinger going in my brain going, they don't want to hear that, they don't want to hear that. But what I enjoy is sitting down to a video that is a good hour long, because what do? I get all of my stitching set. And I know what I'm going to work on, and I have my cup of coffee, and I have my phone propped up, and usually by that time my husband's gone to bed. He goes to bed very early because he's a very early riser. I work a second shift part-time job. I don't go to bed till 1:30 in the morning. So after he's in bed and I know that I have quiet time, I can sit and stitch, and I like to break it into hour segments. Sometimes I will work on one project, and then after that hour, the video ends or whatever, and I get up and maybe I go get more coffee. And yes, I drink coffee at night. I usually will make a small pot of coffee before I go to bed. So, I go to refill a beverage, whether it's coffee or lemonade or water, which is always my least favorite option. That doesn't matter. I know that at the end of that video, I can get up and do whatever I need to do and then come back, reevaluate my time. Do I have time for another hour-long video, or do I just want to putter around with what I'm doing, putting things away, making plans for the next day, whatever. So I was thinking about that last night, and you always have the option to fast forward through or watch only half, or stay the whole way through somebody's video. And I'm truly hoping that what we share here in my dining room and with our cross stitch and some of our thoughts resonates with you, and that you do want to stick around. And I would so much appreciate if you like my video, if you leave me a comment, if you share my name or video with your friends. I am also on Instagram. I am also under the same So She Sews and Quilts on Instagram. I'm going to leave a link down below. I know that a lot of people mention that in their videos, and then I go to look for them and I think, oh, what was their name? Is it the same as their video? So I'm trying to get much better at leaving all of that information below. I do also have a Facebook page for my business, and that is also So She Sews and Quilts. But to be very honest, I don't think I've posted on that page in probably 2 years. It's there so that if somebody is looking for a long arm quilter or something like that, I do have pictures and things. but the majority of my posts have been on Instagram and through my YouTube videos here. So let me go over what I have here. What I've come to realize is I sit here with my calendar and I kind of go through it because it helps me remember everything that I did. So you will see me flipping pages, and that's because I'm looking at my calendar. I've been trying diligently to leave myself notes, and I have to find a better method, because I've been leaving my notes on my pieces that I'm stitching on the paperwork within the piece, and then I forget to transpose it into my calendar, and then I sit here and I think, oh my gosh, what else did I work on? Something else that I've also started doing, and this has really helped me a lot this past month and a half that I've been on vacation here. Every night that I sit down and I stitch, I take a picture at the end of my stitching. You know, like if I'm going to stitch for 2 hours, at the end, I take a picture of what I did. And then in my phone, if I really plan it well, I will automatically, you know, add the date to the picture. But sometimes I don't. I rely on my details of my camera and my picture to tell me what day I took the picture. But I've gotten much better at that, only because I've had my hands on so many things this past month and a half that I'm forgetting what day I stitched what. So it's also very helpful for progressive pictures. And I've been doing that on Instagram as well, posting, you know, one of the things that I started on, I'm going to show you that in a minute. I now have, you know, 2 days. I can see my progress. And I think sometimes we need that. We sit down with a piece and we look at it and we don't think we're making any progress. But if you go back and you look at pictures that you have taken, you definitely will see progress. And that's what I'm trying to do for myself, because one way or another, I have to keep track of what I'm doing so that when I sit down and bring you all into my home here, I can talk to you about it instead of flitting back and forth and doing all that nonsense. So let me talk to you about the trip to Disney. Now, we left on Friday, March 6th. We left pretty early in the morning. We drove. We made it to, I believe it's called Davidson, North Carolina, that first day. Now, you know, don't forget, I'm with my son and my daughter-in-law and 2 of my grandchildren who are 6 and 4. So, you know, there were a few stops, which is fine. We had to do potty breaks and getting something to drink or whatever, gas or whatever. It was not a bad drive. It really wasn't. I did take cross stitch with me. I wasn't very successful on the drive with the cross stitch because my eyes were still not focusing very well. If you remember, I talked to you about the cataract surgery that I had done in January and February. And while I had no major complications from the surgery, I ended up with a lot of swelling behind my eyes, and it was taking quite some time for the swelling to go down. So while I could see clearly, my close vision was very blurry. I had 2 blurry right at my pupils. So I was trying to cross stitch in the car, moving, which I normally don't have a problem with. But I was also, the project that I brought, and I'll show you that, what I brought was on Lugana. And the Lugana was not as stiff as Ada. If I had brought a project that was done on Ada, I don't think I would have had a problem. But anyway, so we made it to Davidson, North Carolina Friday night. Saturday morning we got up bright and early, made it to Disney. We stayed on Disney site in a resort. It was very, very nice. My son that lives in Florida, on the Tampa side, he and my daughter-in-law and granddaughter met us there, so they were there for a couple days with us, which was lovely. Sunday, we went to Magic Kingdom, which is my favorite place. Monday was a rest day. Tuesday was Epcot, and I stayed at Epcot all day. They left midday to take the kids back because it was very hot. It was well over 90, and you know, we were coming from 30-degree weather right here in Buffalo. So they took the kids back for a little bit at the very heat of the day. I stayed in Epcot. I walked around the world twice, and I had, no kidding, no lie, I had 25,000 steps that day. I was shocked. I had over 25,000 steps on Tuesday. So we stayed until the fireworks Tuesday night. Wednesday was another day of just relaxing at the pool. Thursday was Animal Kingdom. Friday was resting and packing. And then we left early Saturday, made it to Davidson, North Carolina again, and then came home on Sunday. So it was a long trip. It was a long trip. I did actually video, and I was going to post it, but I had a slight problem. I don't know if I had a reaction to the eye medication I was on, if all of a sudden I have developed allergies or whatever, but my face swelled. My face and my eyes, it was so swollen, and my cheeks were hot. I was putting ice packs on my face, or not ice packs, but I was taking washcloths and putting ice in them, and I could literally feel the heat coming through. No fever. I didn't have any other problems other than something going on here. It took a couple days, and then it started going away. But by the time I came home on Sunday, I was still kind of puffy in my face. So it was a little funny. And I re-looked at that video, and I said, oh gosh, I can't post that. It didn't look good. So, but I did film a little bit of something. I was giving you a tour of the resort that we were staying, where we were staying, which was very nice. But that was a very busy week. So let me show you what I did work on. Now, as I said, it was difficult to stitch in the car. I just didn't have, I could not focus. And then I was also sitting in between two car seats. So, you know, it was a little close. It wasn't uncomfortable, but I didn't, you know, like when you're stitching and you want to just have the room, I was stitching like this. So it got to be just a smidge tight for me. So let me show you what I did take along with me. I do have my board here amongst my piles of things. So I've been working on this for a bit. And this is the Stitching Rules by Primrose. I'm just going to pop it up here on my board. This is it here. Stitching Rules. Now, I'm doing them in a little bit of a different order. And if you have this pattern, you know that the way that Lindsay designed this, it can be done. I'm trying to move my pattern out of there. I don't want you to see the pattern. They're broken down evenly, like where it says Stitching Rules, and then count twice. Each of these, count twice, stitch once. Enjoy each stitch. So those can be individually stitched as indicated here. But what I did was I moved things around. Of course, I started with Stitching Rules, and then I'm doing Enjoy Each Stitch. I do have them laid out the way I want to do it, and I'm not a fan of the no frogging allowed, so that might be my last one. I don't know. I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. I do have them, like I said, the way that I want to stitch them. But this is what I worked on, and I did get that whole second piece done. Now, I lost floss because I had it, I was stitching in my suite, or in my room, I should say. It wasn't a suite. And I had everything laid out on the bed and the floss and that, and I thought I had picked up floss, and apparently I didn't. And I got a little angry with myself because that was one piece of DMC that I have lost and I now have to replace, which isn't a problem considering that I have 2 complete sets of DMC floss and then some, right? There are some mistakes in here and I don't care. To be honest, I don't even remember where they are. I think I have a space too close to something else, but enjoy each stitch. Enjoy it. I had fun working on this. Oh, I can tell you one now that I see it and I remember. These spools over here are not right. They're not big enough. So I must have moved the S over too close. I made it work. I made it work. So I do have it set where I want to start my next row. And looking at what I have here, the next one that I have planned on is the one that says count twice, stitch once. So basically what I did with this particular pattern is I just flopped these. So I have this one up here and then I'm going to do this one down here. So this is what I worked on in Florida and on the drive. Now I am doing it on the called for Lugana. And I really do like stitching on Lugana. It was just difficult to do it while we were driving, if I had more room. So this is 28 count light ash gray Lugana, and I did get the Lugana from Primrose. I also am using the called for threads, which are all color and cotton. I generally don't use color and cotton because, you know, most of the patterns that I had didn't have them. They use either Classic Color Works, Weeks. So here are the threads. They're very pretty, and I suspect that I will have more left, which is good because when I bought that pattern, I believe they offered a trio at the same time. And I have not started these other 2 patterns, but I do have them in here, and I do have extra fabric because I bought a half yard. So I do have the stitching quilt. And I also have the stitching Quaker. So I know that once I get done with the stitching rules, I will definitely have enough fabric left as well as enough floss. And I'm sure if there's something I can always fill in. We don't have to worry about that, right? We always have enough in our stash. Or if we have to go to our local needle workshop, I almost said local LNS, which is redundant. We can do that. So I am housing this in a bag that I made. Now, if any of you worked at Joann Fabrics, back in the, let me look at the date on this piece, it says 89. Oh, there's a needle popping out of there. Let me get that because I just poked myself. Joann's used to have, wow, Joann Fabrics used to have little kits, little cross-stitch kits with red plastic heart frames. This was one of them. And it was Crafty Lady. So what I've been doing is taking a lot of my old stitches, and I actually have one here to show you, and turning them into project bags. So I made this bag. Again, I'm building up a stack of bags to put in my Etsy shop. All of my bags, this is a Lori Holt fabric on the inside. All of my bags have pockets on the inside. I put little loops on the inside so you can hang your this ring. So she is She is where my stitching rules reside. So that's what I worked on for the Florida trip. So then we got back. Did I buy anything down at Disney? I bought a lot of stuff. I bought a lot of stuff for the grandkids. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. You know what? I'm surprised that Disney does not have like a craft store, like cross stitch and quilting and things like that. I really think they're missing the mark, because so many of us that do like to craft, I would buy fabric. I would buy cross stitch kits. I'm really surprised that they don't have something like that down there. That you can find stuff like that online, but not down there. And that even at Disney Springs, there's nothing there like that. So it's just kind of, come on, Disney, get on the ball. You got probably people here that would buy that stuff. Anyway, so we got home on Sunday, March 15th. And then it was, back to work and getting ready for Easter and everything else. So during that time, oh, you know what? I want to show this to you too. This is an up and coming. What did I stitch on? I didn't really work on all that much, because when I got back home, I ended up taking on an extra day at the clinic. So now I'm working 3 nights a week until we hire more staff. So that week after I came back, I don't even remember sitting down to stitch. I don't have anything in my notebook, which isn't surprising. But I was also doing some crochet. And again, I was still having trouble with really focusing in with my eyes. So just drink. On Sunday, March 22nd, I did have 2 starts. One of them was a market release, and I just couldn't help myself. I could not wait any longer. I had to start it. I was not going to, but I absolutely had to. Now, I do have a local needle workshop. It's called Lazy Daisy, and she is on Main Street in Clarence. And I had been out there a couple times, and before I went to Florida around Market, I messaged her and I said, hey, can you order this for me? And she responded, her name is Kathy. She said, is that from this year's market? I said, no, it's last year's. So she said, sure, she'll look into it. So she messaged me back. She said, I have that pattern. I said, great, kit it up for me, and I'm going to show it to you. I said, and as long as you're going to Market, because then she had said to me, well, if you're going to come and pick it up, I'm leaving for Market. I said, how about this? How about you get me these things from Market, and I will come to you after you get back from Market and I get back from Florida. So that's how it worked out. So I did go and I picked up everything that she bought for me and kitted for me, because again, she is now my closest local needle workshop. She is in Clarence. It's probably a half-hour drive, 25 minutes. But my next closest is Hobby House Needleworks in Rochester, which is also a beautiful place to shop. And I will be going there in June for the Brenda Gervais retreat. Yes, I did get into that. So anyway, so I went up to Lazy Daisy and I picked up my things, and I could not wait. I picked this up from her on Saturday the 21st, and I had to start this the next day. I got to be careful because I have the pattern here, so I don't want you to see that. The problem I ran into, again, was I couldn't focus. I just couldn't focus on this. and I was having so much trouble and I was getting so frustrated that I just said, Barb, stop. Don't worry about it. So I am stitching home on Quaker Lane. Oh, let me take that out of there. By Brenda Gervais. I love this piece. Absolutely love it. Isn't that stunning? And she's tiny. She's tiny. Now I am stitching on the called for, and it is 36 count red cedar by Cedar River Linens. And oh, I love Cedar River Linens fabrics. I just absolutely love them. Fiber on a whim too. But this is my start. Hang on, let me put this behind it. No, dropping things. This is my start. I struggled. Now, I also, excuse me while I bend down and pick this up. I also decided to use soie d'Alger. Now, I have not worked with silk, and I'm using one strand. Now, the pattern calls for Overa soie. Kathy didn't have that. So I decided to get the soie d'Alger. But the problem is that even though this is 36 count, and it's funny because I'm looking at it now and I can see it much more clearly as compared to when I actually started working on this on the 22nd. So it hasn't even been a month. I know, and I'm sure that you know this too, that when linen is dyed, it shrinks down a bit. So this is 36 count, but it has shrunken down to almost like a 37. So I was really struggling to see, and honest to God, I had on 2 pair of glasses, and then I thought, this isn't working. And then I took the glasses, I had on 1 pair of glasses, and then my mag light and then I could see it, and I thought, you know what, before I get so frustrated and say, I'm not going to work on this anymore, I just put it aside and said, now is not the time. It'll get better. And it's funny because I really have not picked this up since then. And looking at it, you know, even with a light, because it is a darker fabric, even with a light with something underneath, I think that I would be able to stitch it a little bit easier now as compared to when I first started. I do have it on a scroll. I do not like working with a scroll or a hoop, but I am also finding that a lot of the linens are very floppy. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just paying more attention, but they're just floppy, and I want to make sure that my tension stays nice. I don't want at the end when I'm looking at it to have it look loosey-goosey. So I'm working on a scroll, and I did start in the, which one did I start with? I started with this one here. Oh, why did I do that? Why did I put it back in there? Because I'm talking and I'm just trying to make things clean up as I go. So I started with this motif here. And I love Quakers. I just absolutely love them. And I love that this is one color. That's just like my Americana red. I feel that it goes faster because you're not swapping out colors all the time. That just makes more sense, right? It's going to go faster because you're not having to constantly change colors. But this is something that I've started, and I truly love it. And I'm going to give myself just a little bit more time before I jump back into it so that I'm not giving myself grief. Do you know what I mean? I want to enjoy this stitch, and I'm really not in a hurry. to have it finished. I mean, I would like to have it finished in my lifetime. So that was one thing that I started. And then when I got a little frustrated with that, and I said, no, I need to stitch. It was Sunday night. It was the 22nd. I said, I need to stitch something because I had gone for so long, it felt like, without any real significant stitching. So I went and pulled out, because we all have things sitting there waiting to go, Coffee Saves Lives. And this is part one in the Magical Elixir series by Heartstring Samplery. And I do have other ones, and I do have one that I stitched and it's fully finished. So this, when I first saw this, now I saw Beth Twist last year at Hobby House Needleworks, and she was there for a retreat. And when I first saw this, I was like, oh, it's a sampler. And then I looked at it a little bit more closely, and sure it is, because it has the alphabet, but right in here it says Coffee Saves Lives. So I got a good giggle out of that. I really got a good giggle out of that. So I purchased the pattern, of course, and I am stitching this. This was, remember I told you about my picker wheel? It just so happened that when I spun my picker wheel, this was what popped up. So I was quite happy because it made me giggle. It made me feel a little bit better, coming off of not really getting much accomplished on my Brenda Gervais piece. But now I did not cut my linen here. It is full, and I will cut it after I get down because I'm doing the frame right now. So really, there's not much to show on here. But what I can show you, let me put it on this side because it'll stick better. So I do have a full piece of linen here, but here's the end, the bottom. And now I'm working over to the side. So I'm really just doing the framing. And that's it for right now. That's all I have on here. But this was good because I was frustrated coming off of the Brenda Gervais piece, wondering if I was ever going to stitch again on a tiny count fabric, you know, berating myself. Why did you bother having your eyes done? You're still blurry. It's already the end of March. It wasn't even 2 months. But you know how we want instant, right? I went for cataracts. You took them out. You gave me new lenses. I should see. Well, I can, but we forget about the healing process. So anyway, I came off of that Sunday night, and I was really disappointed in myself. And I said, I need something. And when I spun my picker wheel, because I've talked to you before about my picker wheel, this popped up, and I said, I can do the whole frame. I can just work on the frame. All I'm doing is going across, right? So that's where this start came from. Now I am using, hang on, I got to get my glasses here. I still need readers. This is actually pecan pie. So I am using all of the called for. Now there's Weeks, there's Gentle Arts, and there's Classic Colorworks. And there is a conversion for DMC, but I'm using the called for because they're going to be pretty. They're all in the browns, which is kind of funny because on another note, I'm having my house painted, and everybody keeps asking me, what color are you painting it? I said, the same color. It's brown. I like it. Brown, cream, and maroon. Nothing is changing. The colors are all staying the same. I just needs a facelift. She just needs a little bit of touch up on her makeup. So these are the colors, and it's very, very pretty up against the linen. Everything is going to look really nice. Now I am stitching 1/2. I do like on 16 or 32 count, 36 count, I stitch 1/2 on the 32 and the, you know. I prefer a little bit more muted look with my stitching. And I also have noticed on some of the tighter fabrics that it's hard to pull the thread through. Now, it's different if you're using silk because it's a little bit thinner, but on the regular floss and that, for me, for my personal taste, I find that one strand lays nicer, and I do like it much better. So, what fabrics are you using, Barb? Please tell us, and I will tell you. I'm hoping that I will tell you because it's on this sheet of paper. It is 32 count linen by Weeks Dye Works. Weeks Dye Works? Is that the linen? WDW? Well, no. Am I wrong? Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. Because for some reason, that just doesn't seem to make sense. I don't know. Whatever. It's called linen. It's pretty. Looks like linen. The linen looks like linen. So that's this project. So I redeemed myself that night. I felt much better that I picked up that and said, okay, I can do that. Now I have it in this little bag. I was gifted this bag at this Beth Twist retreat at the Heartstring Samplery and Plum Street retreat back in April, so it was a year ago, of 2025. One of my table mates gifted this bag to me, and I thought, oh, how appropriate to put a sampler from the retreat that I attended. So those were the two things that I started on March 22nd. Now, that particular week, I was planning another trip, so I didn't have much time to really stitch. But what I did have time to do was 2 fully finishes. This Spring Blessings was from Primrose Cottage in their monthly email, the freebie. I'm not sure when I stitched it. I did have the paperwork, but I already put that away. So I stitched it somewhat quickly. You know what? I can tell you when, but you can also go back to my Instagram page and see it because I posted it there. So this is the stitch, and I turned it into a little pillow. Now, what I had, this pillow form was on a St. Patrick's Day pillow that I did. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make this into one that I can easily take the pillow form out of. And then I have the pillow form. I don't have to continuously buy a pillow form for a little tiny holiday pillow. Now the Primrose girls, or Lindsay, gives a new little stitch every month. And there is a new one out, and I do have a copy of it here, and I'm going to show that to you when I get into my haul. But this was very quick, and something that I also decided to do, stash. We have stash. Now, I love that she offers these little free patterns, as well as all of the other designers that do that for us. And I know sometimes, like especially for this, Primrose offers a finishing kit. They offer the fabric with the floss, and that's great. But as somebody that has been stitching for over 50 years, I have stash. So I have decided that any small that I do this whole year, whether it's from Primrose or if it's in the cookbook from Needlework Market, any small that I do, and now that I think of it, I have to put something together as table gifts for my retreat in June. I'm using stash. Now I picked up this Ada, and it was clearly a mistake on my part because I do not like the glittery kind of anything. I made dance costumes for years, so I've had it to here with glitter and sequins. Same with wedding dresses, right? But for some odd known reason, I purchased a bunch of this Ada that has this sparkly in it. I don't even know if you can see it. See it? I don't like that. But I thought, you know what? It would be perfect for this. And look at how cute. So these are just fabrics from my stash. All of the floss is from my stash. I did, when I started this, I had a variegated light purple, and I did the word spring in it, and the way the variegation, it read Rin. I said, that's not going to work. So I ripped it all out and I found a darker purple. But all of my floss is from stash. Why not? So when I went to finish it, I said, well, I'm going to pull fabrics that match the colors. So look at the bag. Now, this is not something I would put in a quilt per se, especially if I'm making smaller patches or something. I might cut for color, but it's perfect for the back of a pillow. This is my little Lori Holt crocheted flower. She works out well. And then I bought some 2026 charms. And there she is. She's done. So as I said, everything that I do this year, any type of a small that I get as a freebie chart or something like that, I'm going to dig into stash. I'm not buying anything because I am sure that between all of the DMC floss and the Anchor floss and the Coates and Clark floss and all of that other stuff, I am sure I can match colors. So that was one thing that I fully finished. Now, something else that I did, just like with the project bag I showed you, where I had stitched that piece in the late 80s, I stitched this piece in 1993. And it was in a plastic frame because it was a kit. And I had glued it down to some board. Why do we do that? Please don't do that. Don't glue your Ada or your linens down on boards anymore. Don't do that. Lace it or pin it. But anyway, I took this piece and I remember when I stitched it, it was in the nursery for my youngest child. So this was this. Maybe some of you have stitched it. So I took it out of the frame and I said, this would make a really cute Easter decoration. Why is it just sitting in a box somewhere? I washed it. I laid it out and I mounted it to a board. Pulled some rickrack out of my stash and I thought, wow, this is okay. Now I mounted it to this. This is something I found at Hobby Lobby on clearance. It had a saying on it. I can't even read what it says anymore. I'm blessed beyond belief, something like that. So this is actually glass. So I just mounted, I did glue the board itself to this glass. And it has a little stand. And then it's just done up for Easter. I have not put my Easter decorations away. That's a today job. But I wanted to show this to you. So this is something repurposed. I don't need to have this sitting out anymore. I don't have babies anymore. I have grandchildren now. But it's something that's cute for Easter. So I did put a little bit of batting behind it. Personally, I like batting behind my pieces because then they don't look so flat. I do know that, years and years ago, that's what we did. We mounted, I'm looking around at pieces here. They were mounted flat. But I do like to have a little bit. So, you know what? Look at your old pieces. If you have them stashed away or you find something in a thrift store or something like that. And here's another perfect example. Remember last year when I talked about that stash of a stitcher who passed away? This was one of her pieces that she stitched. And I repurposed it into a project bag. So let's give life to those pieces. It doesn't always have to be put into a frame. Remember years ago, everything was put into a frame and we put it on the wall. Let's reimagine those things and turn them into fun little things like, goodness, here's a little pillow that I did. I did this little stitching. Actually, this was in a frame too. I don't even know when I did this. And it was in a tiny, or did I even frame it? Maybe it was done and I didn't know what to do with it. But look at how tiny that little pillow is. So I turned her into a pillow. She was just a little kit. This is my fabric. Actually, it's Kim Deal fabric. And I did the little slit in the back, and then I just stitched the piece of wool down to cover the hole. But she sits here in my little dough bowl. She was just sitting somewhere that wasn't finished. And why? Take those pieces, reimagine them, walk around Hobby Lobby or a thrift store and think about different ways that you can mount the piece. If I see something like on Instagram or on some of the Facebook page, in some of the Facebook groups that I follow, if I like something, maybe they've done a different type of finish that's really interesting to me, I will screenshot it. Screenshot the picture, and then I have a file on my phone that says finishing ideas, right? So don't sell yourself short on things like that. Let's go and find all of our old pieces that we might have stashed away thinking that they are not appropriate any longer, and let's reimagine them. Okay, so those were the 2 fully finishes that I did. And then that week I left early on Friday morning, literally early at 3:30 in the morning, 3:15 in the morning, to hop on an Amtrak train to go down and visit my daughter on Long Island because she was in the community theater where she performs. They did the musical Cats. Now, if you've ever seen the musical Cats, you either love it or you don't understand it. I took her the very first time to see Cats here at Shea's Buffalo when she was about maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. That has always been our musical. We've seen it every time it came here. I've seen it on Broadway. She's even traveled to see it. So it was just something, right? And to see her dance in that musical, I was down there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was down 3 days. I got there Friday afternoon and left early Sunday morning. But I saw the show 3 times and I cried each time, especially the first time seeing her and just having all of those old emotions come back and remembering taking her and how she danced. Now, she's been dancing a long time. And she is phenomenal. And I'm so proud. I was so proud to see her in the show and fully make-upped, and it was great. It was great. I can't speak any more about it or I'll start to cry. Anyway, so on my train ride down and back, of course, I did take a little project with me, something that was going to be a little bit easier to stitch. That's not it. I got them all sitting here. This is what I took. Signpost Stitcher by Colorado Cross Stitcher. Now I've already done this piece. Actually, hang on. It's sitting right here in my basket. This is that piece. Creating, what does it say here? Creating works of art 1 stitch at a time. So I've already done this piece. And I did the same thing. I pulled out a scrap of Ada. Looks like 18 count. Looks tiny. Could be 16, could be 18. And used whatever floss I had. I did this in 2025. I did put little beads on for the top of the pins. The back, I did the slit to fill it. Now, usually when I make my little pillows like this, I will put lizard litter in here. To make sure that it doesn't come out through the holes, I have some batting, or quilt batting, on my actual piece. So I'll have quilt batting and then my Ada, and then I put the lizard litter in there. And I fill it probably 3/4 of the way. And then I come back and I just put a little polyfill over here so that when I go to stitch it closed, I don't get the lizard litter out. So, you know, she's got a little bit of heft to her, but she is also sitting in this basket. So I've been working on Stitcher. And as I said, I took it on the train with me, and it's easier to stitch on the train. I had a little bit more room. I am using for this, I did pull the called for that, Classic Colorworks, just because I had it. And whatever else I needed. I wasn't going to be too extremely fussy with this. Oh, I don't want you to see that. So this is, I am doing it on Ada, and I am stitching 1/1 because, do I have my note in here as to what size this cloth is? I don't. How do I not have that in here? Maybe it's on here. Maybe I wrote it on here. Probably not. I have been, like I said, trying to write down my notes. You know where it might be? It might be in my book, in my picker wheel book, but I didn't bring that out. So we're just going to say it's on Ada, and we're going to let it go with that. So, yes, I do have my threads hanging, and I do leave my needle in my work, and that's what I do. So here I am on here. And I do like this. Again, as I said, I do like a muted look with my stitching. And I'm going to be fine with this. I know looking at it right now in the camera, it doesn't even look like there's much there. But there is. Lighting, natural light. But for me, for what I like, it's perfect. So as I said, I stitched a little bit on this, on the train. And I actually, just as a side note, I had a lady, we were sitting there chatting. She sat down next to me, and we started talking about quilting and that. And she's like, oh, I would love to make a queen size quilt, but it's so expensive. It would be what, like $125? I just looked at this lady. I said, ma'am, add another 0, because just the cost of fabrics and time, and if you're going to have somebody make it for you. And she's just like, oh. It was kind of funny. She didn't talk to me much after that. Anyway, so I worked on that on the train. And then what else did I do? One of the other things that I stitched on, I know I had mentioned earlier the picker wheel. I did go back and do just a little bit on my gobbletins, but I didn't do much, so I'm not even going to bother to show you because I'm still having a problem with the gobbletins and how I want to work that and what I want to do with it. So gobbletins is going to be in timeout for a bit until I actually figure out where I want to go with that, because there is such an expanse and empty space on there that's driving me nuts. So, and then I came back from Long Island on Palm Sunday. And then my daughter made plans to come home for Easter. So I got home on Sunday. I had to work Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. She came home Friday, April 3rd. So that short amount of time was, going and getting all of the sausage for Easter and cleaning and finishing my decorating and everything else. She got home on the 3rd, and she got in on Friday the 3rd, and we had family Good Friday dinner. And then Saturday we made pierogi. Sunday was Easter. So it was busy. And then she had planned on leaving on Wednesday, and she didn't actually leave until Friday. She decided to hang around for a couple more days. So just having her here and spending time with her and working on a puzzle together, or going to the botanical gardens, or going to lunch, or just running to the store. Oh, how it made my heart feel so full. So we did that. So she left on Friday, and then Saturday I said, I need a new start. Even though I have 50 whips, I need a new start. And the reason I needed this new start is because this is what I asked Kathy to pick up for me. It wasn't a market release this year, but I have been avoiding this pattern for a year. Avoiding it. And I couldn't wait anymore. I said, I'm going to just bite the bullet. So I bought it. So I did start this. And it is called Garden of Quilts by Lori Holt. Now listen. Lori Holt made a post the other day about where she is on her pattern, because she's stitching this as well. And I made a comment that I had just started it. She liked my comment. Lori Holt liked my comment. I know, fangirling, right? They probably have thousands of comments and they just go along like. But this girl screenshot that Lori Holt liked my comment. I'm not embarrassed. So this is it, Garden of Quilts. It's lovely. And like I said, I remember when it came out and I wanted to do it, and I said, no, I have other bigger pieces that I'm working on, and a couple of them are Lori Holt pieces. I did one, I'll have to pull that out to show it. I never even fully finished it. So I didn't want to do it because I knew it was going to be a bigger piece. But I couldn't anymore. I saw it all over Instagram, and so I started it. Now, as I said, I had Kathy get it for me, and I told her, I said, just kit it up with the floss. And I did have a good portion of these floss, but I just, you know what? It's just easier sometimes to have everything in the package, especially on a bigger piece. If it was a smaller piece and I could hop around with colors, I would be fine. But I'm just going to go like this just so you can see. The colors are lovely. They're all classic colorworks, and they're just so pretty. And yes, there is a DMC conversion, but I decided to go with the classic colorworks because when I looked at this pattern, there was not a lot of confetti stitching. Now, if there's a lot of confetti stitching in something, I'm not going to go with an overdyed floss because, in my opinion, I feel you lose that. So this, I dug in my stash for my fabric. And I wrote it down in my notes. Please tell me I did. So I am using 32 count Overcast by Cedar River Linens. Again, I'm stitching 1/2. I am using all of the classic colorworks. So I started this on Saturday, and then last night, while I was watching the new Flosstuber, and I do have her name here, I'm going to tell you what it is. I finished the first flower, and I really enjoy this. Now, what I've noticed when I'm working in a block and I have an overdyed floss, I don't know if this is how you all stitch, but in this spool of thread, in this square of thread, the way that I stitch it, because I don't want to see the lines, so I'm not going to go left to right, right to left. I literally will go whichever way, but I'm going to go all four sides. So I'll go top, side, bottom, up, and just keep going around like that. And that's what I did with this. so that there is a little bit of variegation, but not a defined variegation. I don't want to see lines of color. I want to see it blended. So when I looked at this, like all of these spools of thread, if you look at the picture, especially in this pink one here, you can see the defined lines of the variegated thread, of the overdyed thread. I don't want to see that. So I will work in a square until I get to the center. And that's what I like about that. On some of the petals, because the petals are smaller, it's not that noticeable. Even on the leaves, because the color of this green it's not that variegated, you're really not going to see so much. But usually and I will do this on all of these spools of thread, I will work myself across the top, down the side, across the bottom, and up. And I will keep going in that pattern all the way through that whole spool. Just because. So I started this on Saturday, and then I finished that one flower last night. And this is why I mentioned sitting with a longer floss tube. Now, she's new to me. I do follow her on Instagram. Her YouTube is called Sewing Room Secrets. Same thing on Instagram. Her name is Natalie, and she lives in England. She is from Ireland, I believe. She did mention her parents are in Northern Ireland, but she does live in England. And you know, looking back through her Instagram, I see that she's also a quilter and, you know, cross stitching. She just had lovely, lovely, lovely things. And she's very, very personable. And I really enjoyed sitting and listening to her. And this is why I had mentioned this about the longer floss tubes and sitting and listening and being able to stitch. And if somebody, you know, if something is popping up where I say, oh, and this is how I did this, and you stop and you look, great. But having that in the background and knowing, you know, I looked and I saw that her floss tube was going to be over an hour. And I said, this is great. I am going to sit here and just stitch on my garden of flowers for that amount of time. And then when her floss tube was done, I you know, it's like 12:30, 12:45 in the morning. And I said, well, do I really want to get involved in anything else? And I didn't. So I just started putting things together and organizing my things here, because I knew I was going to be doing a floss tube today. I had planned on it. So the only thing I have left to talk to you about is my haul. I have been trying very hard to keep my purchases to a minimum. I'm having my house painted, and, you know, that's not without a cost. I had the trip to Disney. I had the trip down to Long Island. There was Easter. So, you know, there's just cost, right? So I said, okay, you've got stash. If you want to start something, go pull out your stash. There are so many patterns that I bought that I forgot I had. And they're kitted. So I was good. I was good at market. I did purchase a few things. Kathy did get them for me, and I do appreciate that. And I also did make a couple of purchases through Hobby House. Now, here's the other thing. I have a retreat coming up in June 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. I'm actually leaving on a Thursday. The retreat starts on Friday. But it's the Brenda Gervais retreat at Hobby House Needleworks. And you know where I'm going to head as soon as I get to Hobby House? right to the Cedar River linen display. That's and fiber on a whim. I'm going there, right? So I'm saving my pennies. But one of the things that I've been doing, and this is working out well for me, when I went to retreat last year at Hobby House, they gave us this bag. Look at this bag. This is huge. Okay? Huge. When I came home from retreat, this was filled, along with another bag. But we're not going to talk about that, because that was last year. We're talking about right now. So what I've been doing is any purchase that I make, because I don't want to forget to tell you about it, I've been putting it in this bag. And it's been working out nicely. Now, Kathy also gave me a bag when I went and picked up my things from her. And this is really a nice bag, too, because this bag has lots of pockets on the inside. She had them done. It says Lazy Daisy Stitching. So this is a great tote bag as well. Again, like I said, there are there's 6 pockets inside this bag. So it does hold a lot of stuff. So I can tell you right now, both of these bags are going to go with me to retreat. So let me talk to you about my stash. First thing, I really enjoy stickers and markers and things like that. I do like to journal when I actually sit down and take the time to do it. I do like to put stickers in my books when I sit down to do it. I actually just bought some more stickers today and I have a bin of them. But one of the things that I really like are really fine markers. I was looking for a marker that was waterproof, a very fine point marker, like a microline. This is called microline pen, and it is waterproof. And the reason I wanted it is to write on the labels on my quilts. I do have some markers that I can use that for, but they're thicker. And once you start to write, the point gets wider, and I don't like that. It looks sloppy to me. So I've been looking for some microline pens, and I found these, and I've been using them in my notebooks, and I do like them. They are a very fine point. They are 0.005. And as I think of it, I actually have more pens coming today that I just ordered, some gel pens, but they're for work. So these are the pens, and I did get these off of Amazon. What I do like about them, you can see the colors at the bottom. So it's a nice array of colors. So I have been using them. They are waterproof. They're high quality line art pigment ink pens. And I know they're good for fabric. I'm pretty sure they're good for fabric. I have not tested them. And that's going to be the next thing. I'm going to write on fabric with some of these and just see how they withstand in the wash. But right now I've been using them in my book. So that was one purchase there. I do have some more pens coming today, but that's a different story. So what else did I get from the market? I loved this pattern. Now my first, I did put in an order at Hobby House, but there were certain things that they couldn't get, so I split my order between Lazy Daisy Stitching and Hobby House. This pattern I absolutely love. It's called With Needle and Thread, and it says, "With needle and thread, my heart is at home." It is a Brenda Gervais release from this year. It's beautiful. And again, it's not that big. I did not kit this up. I'm not even sure. The finished size is basically 11 by 12 on a 36 count. So it does use DMC, some Weeks, some Gentle Art, some Classic Colorworks. It does have some beading, but I haven't even started with this yet. Now, I do believe my friend Cindy did start this. That girl has so many starts. I am so jealous. So this is one piece that I got. This I got, I'm not even sure. Like I said, I split my order between Hobby House and Lazy Daisy. So this is Heartstring Samplery. This is part 7 in the Magical Elixir series, like the coffee one that I'm working on. I'm trying to pull this out so you can see it without the glare. It's called Caffinate. I don't rise and shine. I caffinate and hope for the best. I love it. I did buy the floss for it, and I'm pretty sure it's probably very similar to the floss that is in the other one that I'm working on. So that's sitting there waiting for me to decide when I want to start it. But I keep telling myself, don't start anything until you finish something. This one, I do not believe this was a new release. I think it might have been out. But I did purchase it, and I have a sneaking suspicion I already have it. And if I do already have it, I am going to share it. I either already have it or wanted it so much I just never bought it. So it's copyright 2022. It's called A Girl in Her Garden, again by Brenda Gervais. Now, I don't think I would make a drum. I really don't. I think I would do this as a flat. I don't know. Honestly, I've never made a drum. I have not made one yet. But this is just something that I have had my eye on, and I can tell you the reason why, because of this blue. I love that. This, Cecilia Turner, Cherished Friends. I did get the extra floss that I needed for this because I'm pretty sure I have the others. Cherished Friends, Shared Memories. Very cute. Nice little pillow. Or however you want to finish it. This is another one. I was going to flip a coin to figure out if I wanted to start the Garden of Quilts or if I wanted to start a Garden's Beauty by Heart and Hand. Isn't this darling? A garden's beauty never lies in one flower. I love it. And then I did get the floss for that. I am not sure, obviously, how I'm going to stitch it. It should have, let's see. It's approximately 11 1/4 width by 4 1/2 high. So we'll figure that out. Now the last piece that I have, I mentioned earlier the Primrose Cottage freebie patterns that come in the email. They have the cross stitch pattern. They also have a quilt pattern. And if you're interested, you have to sign up for both emails. One is for the cross stitch, one is for quilting. And if you go to the Primrose Cottage website, you'll be able to find that link there. But the last pattern that they just popped out, here I need to move this out of the way because I printed the pattern. Let's go like this. It is called Sweetly Saying. It's very cute, and it is definitely one for us stitchers. Very, very cute, and they did it up as a pillow. Now, I have seen a lot of posts on the Primrose Cottage page where people are making this their own with their own favorite colors. This calls for color and cotton. They do have DMC conversion on here, but so many people are pulling it and using what they have. Now this is going to be another one that I'm going to go up and my stash. I'm going to pull a piece of Ada. I don't know what size it's going to be. I might even pull out a 10 count. Who knows, right? Although I really wouldn't want to stitch on 10 count because no. But whether it's 14 or 16 or 18, I will more than likely use Ada for this, just because, right? And then I'm going to pull out my own floss, and looking at this, this has a lot of like reds and looks like reds and greens and that. And for me, I'm going to liven this up a little bit. I know that the tomato I'll stitch in red and the button I'll stitch in something different. And I'm literally just going to pull threads. I have a little, actually I'm going to show it to you. This is where all of my off-cast scrap pieces of floss live. This was given to me. It's a little toy box, little toy chest. It actually says small fry here on the side. It had a little, you can see the dust. Don't look at my dust. So it's dusty, big deal. But I have all kinds of floss in here. Like, you know, when you finish a project and you have all those pieces, this is what's in here. This is the mess of floss. I have bags of something, just whatever. I don't even know what some of these are. This is Anchor. You know, I did the one time try to sit down and organize it all out, but it is what it is. If I'm working on something and it needs like 10 stitches of a brown, I'll find it, right? So this is where I have been going when I say that I'm using my floss from stash. It's coming out of here. So again, in there, I'm going to pick out my colors for this. I'll grab a piece of Ada. I don't know. And then that can be my, you know, if I'm sitting there and I'm watching a floss tube and I'm watching two floss tubes and maybe there's like a half hour, 45 minutes left in one and I don't want to stop stitching for the night, I'll pick up something like this, because to me, this is confetti stitching. There's a lot of little bits and pieces in there. And sometimes I get annoyed with confetti stitching. You know, changing color and doing this and doing that. And honestly, what I find on things like this as well, I make more mistakes because it's so many different changes. It just happens. But that's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to, when I get done here, I'm going to go up, I'm going to grab a piece of fabric, I'll pull out some colors, and that's going to be that extra little piece if I'm done for the night and I still want to stitch on something, or maybe I'm having a rough night and I don't want to stitch on linen and I just want to stitch on Ada, then I will grab that. It's always fun to have a project like that. Not like we don't have 75 projects in the making. I don't even want to start to talk about the quilt projects I have. And you know what? I did say in my last video that I'm going to do a quilt video using those Kim Deal quilt cards that I showed you. I am still working out the logistics of filming that. Sitting down here filming a floss tube, it's easy. Easier. Everything's here on the table. I can pull what I need. I'm just sitting here chatting with you. If I'm filming a quilt video, I am down in my studio and I have to have that camera just the right way, and I can't zoom in and I don't know how to edit. That's the big problem. I don't edit. So I don't know if I want to do it in shorts, if I want to do it in parts and just say, okay, this is the first block that I'm making. This is step 1. This is step 2. I don't know how annoying that would be to somebody that wants to watch a series in succession. Like when Lori Holt does her videos for her quilting, she goes through the whole block. But that's a different story for a different day. So now, as I said, I know this is going to be a little bit longer. We're coming up to a good hour and 20. And if you've hung around this long, I truly appreciate it. I felt like I had a lot to say today and I didn't want to rush through it. And I do know personally, I enjoy sitting through some of the longer videos because then I know that I have that dedicated amount of time to stitch. If I have a short amount of time, I'll choose something different. But what I'm trying to do, because I've missed out on so many videos because of just life. I usually watch videos when I'm stitching, and I wasn't really able to stitch much because my eyes were still healing. So I'm going back, I'm finding new friends, I'm rewatching some old videos so that I can come back and check notes, because there were things that I do, like people talking about particular patterns, and of course I got to write it down. As a matter of fact, she had said something yesterday when I watched Natalie. She had a pattern. Now I'll be darned. She mentioned something and I wrote it down, and now I don't remember where I wrote it. This is aggravating to me. I've got to go back and check my notes. How do you all do this? Do you have one big notebook that you have with you that you're constantly writing things down in so you can keep track of it? Do you put it in your phone? I feel like I am all over the place when I take notes, or if I want to have a note to myself. And honestly, I've been writing a lot of things on my cross-stitch project patterns because I feel like, oh, good, okay, it's on there, I'll know where it is. But then I put the pattern back and I forget that I didn't transpire the note. There's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way because I find things all over the place. So I think with that, my Chet's right here. Chet, this is Chet here. See, this is Chet. Chet celebrated his birthday yesterday. Come on, buddy. Come here. Come here. He turns 3. Come here, Chet. Come here. Now he wants to play. Come on. Oh, here comes Pip. Now they're going to start jumping around. I've gone through this whole video over an hour and a half, and they've been very quiet. But now that I'm calling them, they're going to start bouncing around. So I'm going to leave you all there. And I will be back, hopefully shortly. I don't have any more trips planned until June when I go to Hobby House for retreat. Again, thank you so much for coming and sitting here and listening to me. I hope I didn't babble on as much as I normally do. I hope you enjoyed the projects that I have been working on, and the fabrics that I've chosen and the threads. And I hope it brought you some joy. I hope you found something. I hope you found something new that you're enjoying. And feel free to share with me. Follow me along on Instagram. I do not post every day. I'm also finding it's sometimes difficult to keep up with social media when you have so many things going on. I'm really trying to get better at that, just to have that presence, just to encourage stitchers that I see and comment on their works. Part of my problem is if I see something, I want to buy it. And I really have to exercise some self-restraint because I have so much. My goodness, once I start doing my quilting videos, you're going to be like, girl, you go overboard with fabric. But anyway, so again, thank you for being here. Please leave me a comment. Please like my video. Feel free to tell your friends. Hop on over to Instagram. Again, it's So She Sews and Quilts. I will put that down below because it is a tongue tire. It's kind of, you slur your words when you say it. But you're very welcome here. And I thank you from West Seneca, New York. And friends, I will see you soon. Bye for now.